Hi, my name is Dana Burt. I'm here with Justin Reardon, who's running for the Vice Chair of Internal Affairs
Yes.
for the Student Union Assembly here at University of California, Santa Cruz. So can you give us a quick introduction?
Like you said, my name is Justin Reardon. I'm currently the elected Kresge rep for SUA. I'm also the executive vice chair of the Student Committee on Committees. I'm also, keep on going, the student representative on the Committee on Educational Policy here at UCSC and also the system-wide Committee on Educational Policy.
Okay, so yeah, those are all very relevant to IVC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin is not running unopposed. There's one more person running, Victor Velasco. He was not able to make it here tonight, but if you check out the May 12th issue of City on the Hill Press, you can get information on his platform and campaign. Okay, so I want to ask you a question about the campaign process before we get started, because I heard from Amanda when we did the chair interviews earlier this week that there was a new process this time around, so that there aren't any actual direct like head-to-head debates this year where they have been in the past.
Right.
So you're putting campaign videos on YouTube or something like
Yeah,
that?
so the way that the elections commissioner decided to do it this year is because in the past when we've held debates, they haven't been very well attended. So the elections commissioner decided that this year he wanted to do something a little bit more accessible for students. So he is going to be soliciting questions from the student body for the different positions, and then he's going to be filming the candidates separately and then editing the videos together so that it's like a head-to-head debate, but it's not. We won't be exactly there together.
How can people submit questions to that?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the commission this year is they're just having the commissioners go out and ask some friends to solicit some questions from them.
Okay.
But if anyone has questions for myself or the other two people I'm running with, Jessica Greenstreet or James Ramsey, they can go onto our website, www.campus-focus.org, and they can submit a question to us, and we'll post the answers on our website and email them with the answer.
Okay, well, maybe before I ask you some questions about the position, you can tell me a little bit about Campus Focus. What is that campaign?
Yeah, so Campus Focus is a group of 3 candidates, myself, Jessica Greenstreet, and James Ramsey. Jessica Greenstreet is running for the Commissioner of Academic Affairs, and James Ramsey is running for the Commissioner of Diversity. And what we decided was that SUA has a very strong presence off campus and very strong in UCSA and system-wide matters and even national campaigns, and it's very strong on the external basis, but we really wanted more concentration on our campus. We wanted more concentration on student issues, student needs on this campus, student presence on this campus, and student life. So we decided to come together and form Campus Focus, and we're working together to make sure that UCSC is a priority for SUA next year.
Okay, that sort of transitions nicely because you're talking about just campus level, and now we can talk about internal vice chair. So to start off, the Student Union Assembly, SUA, that's the student-funded, student-run undergraduate student government of UCSC, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what really is the role of SUA for students on campus? Like, what does SUA really do for students? And specifically, what do you feel are like the priorities for the IVC's role?
Yeah, so SUA is actually recognized as the official voice of the student body here at UC Santa Cruz by the UC Board of Regents. So this body has legitimacy because of its recognition and has a lot of access to the Chancellor and EVC Galloway and other high-ranking officials on our campus, and is able to appoint students to campus-wide committees to make sure that student voice is heard. So that's really SUA's role on our campus. In terms of the IVC, my job as the IVC would be to increase the communication or maintain the communication with SUA and the student body. So the IVC is really concentrated on internal issues of SUA as well as on-campus issues, working with the CAA, the Commissioner of Academic Affairs, the Commissioner of Diversity, and the organizing director to organize on-campus issues, for on-campus issues like ethnic studies and the funding of the certain entities on our campus. So that's really the role of the IVC, is to work with work with the other officers to organize around the issues for this campus. Specifically, the IVC is also in charge of being the chair of the Student Committee on Committees, and the Student Committee on Committees appoints students to the campus-wide committees to ensure that student voice is heard.
Okay. Can you go back? What were you saying about funding?
Oh, yeah, sorry. With the new funding stream proposal by the Office of the President, the way our university is funded has changed, so that what used to work is all the money would go to the Office of the President, and then the Office of the President would divvy it out based on really complicated formulas. But now what the plan is to allow all revenues that are generated on our campus to stay on our campus.
So by that, do you mean like reg fees, student registration fees,
yeah.
or?
So all educational fees, or tuition, I guess now, campus-based fees, even application fees will be retained on our campus. And ideologically, this makes it's a great idea, but there's a lot of issues because the Office of the President still has to run centralized system-wide initiatives, so they're going to be taxing all the revenues. So they'll be calculating a tax from all the revenue sources, and then the Chancellor and EVC will be able to evaluate that tax onto any revenue source. So the issue that specifically is for students is we have campus-based fees, which are the initiatives that we put upon ourselves. We charge ourselves money so that we can have resources, so that we can have a student media council.
And there are measures on the ballot this time around.
Right, and there's 4, 5?
I think there's 3. I'm not sure.
5 measures on the ballot. So there's these ballot measures that happen. They assess fees onto ourselves, and this calculated tax includes those issues. So all those campus-based fees are still included in that tax, and the Chancellor and EVC have the choice of funding that tax through any revenue source, including campus-based fees. So it's really important that we organize and make sure that the Chancellor and EVC know that the campus-based fees are not where they should be taking these taxes from, because that would be like a budget cut to all of our campus entities that are funded through the measures.
Self-assessed fees.
Right.
Right. So you're hoping to put pressure on campus administration to not include that?
Well, yeah. So right now, the Office of the President does not suck up that money and reallocate it like it does all the other monies. So it's really important that we ensure that all that money stays for those departments and those entities that need that funding to sustain. So we need to put pressure on EVC, Galloway, and Chancellor Blumenthal to make sure that those the funding for the tax comes out of non-campus-based fees.
Okay, and you would like to do that through organizing other students?
Yeah, working with other students, organizing other students, and educating other students, because a lot of students don't know that this is going on.
Yeah, do you think that the majority of students know what a campus-based fee is?
Probably not. And all honesty, the campus budget is so complicated and so diluted by the time any information gets to the students, if any information gets to the students, that it's hard to understand. And increasing that transparency and working with our representatives on things like the Committee on Planning and Budget. We actually have a student who sits on that committee, actually 2 students who sit on that committee, and SEOC appoints those students.
Student Committee on Committees.
Yeah, Student Committee on Committees. Appoints those students to those committees, and one of the things I want to do as IVC is institute a training for those representatives, because right now those students don't have any sort of training on how to be an effective student representative, and they don't know how to utilize things like SUA or other university orgs like the General Assembly for organizing. They don't know how to outreach to those entities to make sure that they're an effective presence on the committees, and providing a training for those students who are especially on the high-profile committees like the Committee on Planning and Budget, the Committee on Educational Policy, the Committee on Admissions and Financial Aid, making sure that those students have the knowledge before they walk into the committee so that they can be an active member and they can bring that information back to the students.
So that's really like the main change you would like to see in student committee on committees is
Yes.
just having training.
Yes.
Are there other things that you'd like to change with that? Because you're involved in student committee on committees now.
Right, and actually right now I'm working on revising the constitution for the Student Committee on Committees. One of the major things that we're going to change is streamlining the system, because it's very convoluted on how the SCOC works, and it also doesn't have any guidelines for appointments or how to work with outreach or how to ensure that we're being fair in the appointment process. So really outline those and bring it, of course, the Student Committee on Committees is the committee of SUA, and it would need a bylaw change of SUA, so I'll be working with other assembly members to change that part of the SUA bylaws.
Okay. So what are the things that the IVC, the current IVC, has really been focusing on? And do you feel like you'd like to shift priorities if you were IVC, or?
Well, the current IVC, he's been really working on legitimizing the Student Committee on Committees, because they're
Legitimizing how?
through making sure that we are communicating with the committees that we appoint people to. Because over the last couple of years, we've like estranged our relationship with those committee chairs and the people who administer those committees through the lack of communication with them and ensuring that we have good student representation on those committees. So Natan, who's the current IVC, has been working on making sure that that communication stays up and making sure that we have full communication. And then Natan has also been working on the other side with the SUA for outreach and working. He created new stickers this year, and he's been trying to help with programming, with things like the speaker blowout this Friday, and he's been helping with that programming a little bit.
Oh, what is that? Is that?
The speaker blowout is a combined effort of E-Squared, Engaging Education, and the Student Union Assembly to bring Dr. Cornell West here to speak to the students about especially issues regarding ethnic studies and other issues revolving around racial equality.
Ethnic studies is a pretty big issue on campus right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a big issue, and there's been a lot of organizing to make it happen. And I think SUA needs to get a little bit more involved in that organizing through the Commissioner of Academic Affairs office and also through the Internal Vice Chair's office, helping organize and let students know the means for getting ethnic studies, because my experience on the Committee on Educational Policy, which is the body that approves and any suspension or any creation of any program on campus, has let me know and have a relationship with those decision makers so that I would be able to provide those resources to the other students.
Okay, the resources to actually get
Yeah,
a program running.
Right.
We've talked about like some of the changes you'd like to see to Student Committee on Committees. Is there anything like internal to SUA that you would like to see change?
With SUA itself, I think that it's right now the assembly is a 42-person voting block, and it's very difficult because we barely make quorum almost every meeting because there are so many representatives, and we always have, there's not always have, but there's issues with having the students continually come to the assembly. And I think one of the issues is that the assembly's too large, and we need to pare it down a little bit while maintaining our diversity and our representation of the campus. The other thing is the SUA has been established for advocacy work and providing resources to students, but the SUA has sort of become a funding body and almost nothing else. We spend
So that's kind of taken top priority.
yeah,
just providing
it's taken a big chunk of all of our meeting agendas, and it's something that we really need to work on. And we're working on it right now, trying to figure out a good solution that everyone can agree to make sure that it's fair to not only the orgs that are getting the funding, but the student body as a whole.
Do you think that maybe reducing the number of people on SUA, though, might take out some of the representation, like from, just because right now each college has 3 representatives,
Right.
right? Do you feel like that's a good number or that there should be less?
Well, what I think is we could utilize one of those college representatives on a committee that just does funding for student organizations, so that we still
So
have
sort
the
of like a subcommittee for funding.
Yeah, so because SCOC is sort of established as a committee of SUA, so something along the lines of SCOC's framework in our Constitution, but for funding and ensuring that we're doing it fairly, because right now we get to the end of the year and we have very little funds, and then the student orgs that come to us at the end of the year get less funding. So creating a system where it's fair for all student orgs.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have. So thanks for coming out here. And if people want to vote, they can go online to elections.ucsc.edu, right?
Yes.
And oh, I'm sorry. So okay, if people want to vote, they can go to elections.sa.ucsc.edu, and that'll be the 11th through the 18th?
Yes.
Okay.